Guys, what's going on? Blossoms back, and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now, today's episode is something that a lot of you guys have wanted me to cover for quite some time, especially since I started the RQ 10 to 100 series, and those are the North Loop Relays 1 to 5. Now, I am making an attempt to tackle what I think is one of the most confusing track sets in Top Drives, mainly because, you know, when you get a track set like quarter mile or slalom or hairpin, you kind of know what kind of track set you're going up against. Like a quarter mile is going to be as straight, a slalom is going to be as twisty as it gets. But when it comes to North Loop, the relays, I mean, look man, I know that the Nürburgring exists, but I cannot tell you how many turns and chicanes and straights are on the Nürburgring, and then you want to split up into 5 different parts. And even if I were to watch every single relay, let's say like 10 times each, I still wouldn't know what is what. I mean, up till today, I still don't know which is the faster North Loop relays and the slower ones. I've had some people tell me that, you know, North Loop 2 and North Loop 5 are the fastest ones. I've had some people tell me North Loop 1 and North Loop 3 are the fastest ones. I don't know, man. I've heard a lot of different things from a lot of different people. You know what? Let's get right into it, okay? We're gonna look at the best possible cars in the ultra rare category for every single North Loop relay from 1 to 5, alright? Now, before we get into today's video, disclaimer, the information presented is based off the sources available on Top Drives records as of the day that I'm recording it, which is November the 8th of 2024. Results may always change and updated, okay? There might be some more cars that are added in the future. One thing I want to let you guys know that specifically for North Loop 4, it's heavily undocumented. A lot of them don't have a lot of cars representing that racetrack. And the reason why North Loop is not that heavily documented as compared to a quarter mile or a slalom or a car park is because players can't access this track set in the single player campaign. We can't test this when we want. The only time it shows up is in like Germany Yellowbird, and for Germany Yellowbird you can only use like super rare German cars. So if I wanted to go test an American car in a North Loop relay, I would have to wait for a specific event or challenge. Which is crazy. So yeah, just take the disclaimer into account. Not everything you see here is going to be 100% correct. There might be some cars that beat the winners that you will see in this video, but as I'm saying, okay, I'm giving you guys the information presented based off the sources available to me today on Top Drives Records. So I'm gonna turn on my camera and let's get straight into it. Now, let me tell you how it works, okay? It took a hella long time to make the setup for this video. So guys, honestly, if you find this informative, if you find this helpful, please like the video, consider subscribing as well. This took a lot of time to get into account and to put into place. So let me tell you how it works, okay? The system that I decided to go with. We've got North Loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And I'm gonna show you the top 5 winners from 1 to 5 according to Top Drives records. On top of that, I'm going to give you the time and the upgrade tune of every first place car, okay? So hopefully you guys are making sense of this so far. At the bottom, it's the RQ that we're going to cover, and that's about it. So first place for North Loop 1, for example, Bulldog at 332, and it comes in at a time of 1:40.90. Second place is the Mercedes, the Charger, the SL73, and the Mercedes again. Why the Mercedes shows up twice is because this represents 2 different upgrade patterns. One is 332, the other is 323. But I'm only gonna tell you the upgrade patterns for the first place car. So North Loop 2, best option, Bulldog. 3, 4, 5, Bulldog, 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 okay? So let's see how different North Loop 1 is from 2, from 3, from 4, from 5. The winners are about the same for North Loop 2. The Saxo comes out of nowhere, but that doesn't mean that the Saxo is, you know, below the top 5 between North Loop 1, 3, 4, and 5. It could possibly just mean that the Saxo wasn't tested on those track sets. So like I said, the disclaimer, very important for today's video. I'm going off the information that I have here, ladies and gentlemen. So moving on to RQ51, the next thing I want to talk about, Let's see it, okay? So, this is how it's going to work again. Just because the Aston Martin DB7 Vantage that you see here is the best possible option for RQ51 only, it doesn't mean that that is the best option that you can use for North Loop 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So, we're going to play a little bit of a King of the Hill, okay? At the top here, you see, these are the King of the Hills. So, at the top, all these Bulldogs are the times to beat, okay? And their times are below. Bulldog's got a 140.90. The Aston Martin has got a time of 143.44 at 323, which makes it the best possible option for 51. So, it's able of beating, this Aston Martin, the best of 51 is able of beating, the BMW Z8, Corvette Stingray Racer in 2 different tunes, the Mulsanne design series, right? But at the same time, its time of 143.44 doesn't beat the 140.90 the Bulldog provides, okay? So, just to give you guys, hopefully this makes sense, the winner that you see here from the Top Drives record pictures are the best car for that specific RQ. But the winners that you see on the top are the best cars overall, okay? So right now, Bulldog, RQ50, beats all the 51s across the board. I hope this makes sense. Remember when I said that North Loop 4 is undocumented? Yeah, look at that. No one has tested. Only 4 cars has been tested on North Loop 4, Relay 4, okay? And one of them, for Christ's sake, is the AMG 6x6. Anyway, I hope this makes sense. I'll go through all the slides, all the following slides a lot faster. Now, moving on to RQ52. Again, nothing beats the Bulldog. The best cars for 52 include the Chevrolet Aerobat as well as the Porsche 904 Carrera GTS. Now, the only reason why the Porsche 904 Carrera GTS that's at the top for North Loop 4 and 5 is because the Aerobat is undocumented on North Loop 4 and 5. There are no times with the Aerobat in 4 and 5. So right now, the only times that we have are the Porsche Carrera GTS, which finishes at 233 of 124.30 on North Loop 4 and 139.72 on North Loop 5. Okay, but again, if you're not being restricted to only using an RQ52, if you can use an ultra rare, just go for the Bulldog because they're just significantly better, right? Bulldog again, 140.90 time to beat. Aerobat couldn't do it. Couldn't beat it on North Loop 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Okay, moving on to RQ53. Again, Bulldog still coming in with the best possible times. But if you had to use only a 53, the best options are as follows. Right now, we got the Porsche 911 Turbo 3.0, the TBR Griffith for North Loop 3. We've got the Chrysler Atlantic for North Loop 4 and the Acura NSX for North Loop 5. Now, I do find this very interesting that the Atlantic is the best for 4, but it doesn't beat the NSX. And I do feel that if the Porsche 911 Turbo 3.0 was included in North Loop 5, it would probably beat the NSX. One thing I learned from this, from all the winners, is that North Loop 5 usually favors the car with the best combination of MRA and top speed. So if you have really good MRA, but you've got a low top speed, you're not winning North Loop 5, it seems. But if you've got good MRA and a high top speed, doesn't need to be the best MRI, but if you got that super high top speed, you win North Loop 5. That's one thing I've noticed across, some of the winners that we'll see here. Anyway, moving on to RQ54. We got some new winners, a new King of the Hill, right? So on North Loop 2 and North Loop 4, the Porsche Boxster and the Cayman becomes the best cars. They've got better times than the Bulldog. So the Boxster comes in at 145, and the Cayman comes in at 145, Boxster comes in at 121. This might give us an early indication that North Loop 1, 3, and 5 favor top speed and MRA, whereas North Loop 2 and 4 favor something more of a hybrid, something that still has great MRA, but also handles a little bit better. This Boxster over here, 87 MRA. Still really good for an ultra rare, but it handles more and it edges out on that Bulldog. So this was the first part where I was like, oh, okay, maybe North Loop 2 and 4 favors ever so slightly hybrid cars a little more than those MRA heavy cars, because this is where we first see the Bulldog fall, right? Now, moving on to RQ55, nothing changes. The best cars still include the Bulldog and the Cayman and the Boxsters. The best possible RQ55s that you can use that are documented on the website include the Chevrolet Camaro SS convertible as well as the Boxster S3.2. Now, again, there are no 233 times for North Loop for the Camaro. They're all 323s, as you can see. 323 wins this, 323 wins this, 323 wins this. One thing that I've also noticed by looking at all of these times is that usually 323 and 233 on a North Loop, the difference is minuscule. It's like 0.001, 0.002, something along those lines. So it's usually very, very close. Okay, so North Loop 4, best is the Boxster, North Loop 5, Boxster as well. Now moving on to RQ56, we've got more winners. Okay, so still 2 Bulldogs being King of the Hill, but we do have the Turbo Martini taking the new King of the Hill position for North Loop 1 and North Loop 2. Remember, North Loop 1 and 2, I mean, the Turbo Martini has amazing MRA, I believe somewhere along the lines of 92 to 93 MRA. And it becomes a new best car, best time, 140.60, 145.14. So basically, if you are in a North Loop 1 or North Loop 2 situation and you can use an RQ55 or below, go for the Bulldog. But if you can use the 56, then the 911 Turbo M42 is going to be a better option for you to use. Now, again, this makes me think that North Loop 3 and North Loop 5 still favor MRA the most, because there's not been a car yet that has been able to trump those 2 cars on those 2 track sets. Now, moving on to RQ57. Okay, no changes again. Boxster still being the best for North Loop 4. Crazy how far this thing is hitting above its weight. Bulldog, yep, 3 and 5. Martini, 1 and 2. If you want to just look at the best cars for 57, we're talking Aston Martins almost across the board, but for North Loop 2, it goes to the Morgan Aero 8. Now, the Morgan Aero 8 is not documented on North Loop 4 and North Loop 3. So, North Loop 4 especially, I think, is a little bit more twisty. So I feel like if the Aero was documented on this, it might be the best one. But again, we're working with what we got here, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on to RQ58. Again, still no changes. Again, for the best RQ58 option for the North Loop relays, it seems to be a pretty good educated guess that the Challenger RT Scat Pack is going to be the best option to use. The Challenger RT Scat Pack is not included in North Loop 4. It has not been tested on North Loop 4. So unfortunately, we don't know what the time is going to be. But I can assume, based off the trends, that it's probably going to be beating, the AC, the Hyundai, and everything that you see currently documented on North Loop 4, mainly because of how dominant it is on all the other sectors. That being said, they still lose to the King of the Hill cars here. The Turbo Martinis, the Bulldogs, and of course the Boxster. Now, moving on to RQ59. We've got a massive change. The Effigy comes in. So Effigy beats the Bulldogs, right? Beats the Turbo Martinis, becoming the best car for North Loop 1, 2, 3. Now, the only reason why the Effigy is not the best car for 4 and 5 is because, surprise, surprise, no times for it. The Effigy has not been tested on North Loop 4 and 5 on Top Drive's record so far, which means that the best time that we have so far still go to the Boxster and the Bulldog. One thing I think is absolutely crazy is that this RQ54 Boxster beats the 2017 Porsche 718 Boxster. So, the RQ54 comes in a time of 121.80. But the 718 Boxster comes in a time of 122.57. So, how earlier I said that North Loop 4 might be something that favors a hybrid or a more twisty car more over than an MRA-based car? This kind of just derails what I just said, because the Boxster doesn't handle or has a 0 to 60 the same of the 718 Boxster, but the RQ54 has better MRA. North Loop is truly a confusing place, but an easy way to simplify things is, although the Effigy times are not listed on North Loop 4 and 5, you can assume that the Effigy is the best across the board, for sure. Okay, now moving on, RQ60, Effigy stays the best. North Loop 4 winner changes to the Rapide S. Bulldog, still the same, still at the top with a time of 133.28. Rapide S comes pretty close at 323 with a time of 133.68. But it still doesn't beat the Bulldog. But then again, I do think that, the 2 best cars for 4 and 5 do go to the Effigy. Now, moving on to RQ61, we got some changes. The Lamborghini Countach 25th anniversary. Now, I do want to say another disclaimer is that although the results may not be super accurate in a sense where the winner here for North Loop 4 and 5 is going to be the Lambo, but I just have a feeling that the Fiji is going to be better. Even though the Fiji is probably better than the Lamborghini is still a fantastic car to use on North Loop 4 and North Loop 5. And I do hope that you find this video still helpful because, you know, there are going to be situations where you can't use it in a Fiji. You have to use an Italian car or a German car or even an American car. And, you know, for that, you can also look at the list. If you can't use, you know, the Fiji and you need to use an Italian car, go for the Countach. If you need to use a German car, this is something that I learned. The BMW 1 Series is a better option than the Roof BTR, which is crazy because the BTR has got, you know, a high top speed. You know, MRA isn't that great, but it's got a ridiculous top speed, low 0 to 60. But anyway, North Loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for RQ61, best options, Jaguar XKR 175, and the Countach, if you can only use an RQ61. But if you can save a little bit of RQ, you can use 61 and below, a Fiji. Holding a Fiji is going to be crazy for this one. Moving on, next one, RQ62. Fiji water car still stays the best. The Spiker Sea Lobulate gets relatively close, I would say. Spiker 137.60 compared to the Fiji's 136.90. This is 142 to 141, 130, so just about a second off. And again, the Countach is still better than Virage, but the Sea Lobulate becomes the next best thing for North Loop 5 at 323. It comes in at a time of 130, 142. Which is impressive. But then again, I don't know what the time is of the Holden of Fiji on North Loop 5 at 332. It might be better, but we don't know because it's not tested. Now moving on to RQ63, we've got another change. The Jaguar XKRS becomes the best possible option for North Loop 4 at 233 with a time of 120.36. Yeah, I mean, pretty impressive. Beats cars like the Ginetta and the S65. But then again, I do think that if someone tested this RQ63 XKR75, it would beat the XKRS. But the XKR75 is not represented on North Loop 4 on Top Drives Records as I'm recording. But we can make an educated guess, like with the Challenger Scat Pack at RQ59 or 58, that the XKR75 would be the best car across the board. One thing I've got to say though is that if you look at all the winners from North Loop 1 and North Loop 5, if you look at the top 5, the cars are usually about the same, right? 75 first, XKR is second, same thing for this, same thing for this, same thing for this. So although each track set is unique from each other, the winners are just about the same amount of cars. As long as you know what to use, some kind of hybrid with good MRA, you're in a safe spot. But anyway, last RQ64 to wrap things up, we bring in the ever so dominant BMW M5. BMW M5 becomes the next best king of the hill for North Loop 1 and 2. So the best times for the Ultra in North Loop 1 and 2 right now are at 135.82 and 139.90. North Loop 3, the best 64 you can use is the M5, but it still loses to the Fiji, which makes me think, okay, North Loop 3 might genuinely favor MRA and top speed. Because, you know, the M5 is ridiculous. It has better MRA than the Fiji, but it still loses. And I think the Fiji edges it out because of that way higher top speed, which makes me think, okay, North Loop 3 might be the most dragster one out of it. Or the most MRA heavy one out of it. North Loop 4, again, just being undocumented, having, you know, completely different cars compared to everybody else. And North Loop 5 came as a massive surprise. The best 64 for the North Loop 5 is the Porsche 911 GT3. Please make it make sense. It beats the BMW M5. So does that mean that North Loop 5 is an MRA heavy track set, or is it not? Because the Bulldog, the Aston Martin Bulldog, was hitting way above its weight, and that car doesn't handle at all. Now we've got the GT3 that handles, you know, better than the M5 and is beating it. I don't understand. But yeah, GT3 is the best 64 that you can use as a time of 133. But if you really wanted, you know, the best documented time for North Loop 5 on Top Drives Records is 131.42, coming from the Spiker Lobulette. Look, if I had to give you guys my personal opinion on things, and we're not looking at the straight facts and sources that's, you know, on this website, I do think that the best possible Ultra for North Loop 1 and 2 are the M5, the best for 3 Fiji, and I just have a feeling that the best Ultras for North Loop 4 and 5 are probably going to be the Fiji. North Loop 4 is strange, honestly. I don't really know what wins on 4. It seems to be getting some of the, it gets the most winner changes, you know, like it changes, it fluctuates the most. So I really don't know who is a true winner of North Loop 4, but I can say North Loop 1 M5, 2 M5, North Loop 3 a Fiji, North Loop 5 most likely a Fiji if they had the time for that. North Loop 4 though, I don't. maybe the XKR 75. Maybe the XKR 75. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Those are all the North Loops relays from 1 to 5. I hope you guys found this really helpful. It took trust me, this took the entire afternoon to set up. This genuinely took the entire afternoon to set up. So I'll be really heartbroken if you guys find this completely useless. But I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville.
Atlantic.
Blonde hair